How does one player get her own personal rule book while everyone else is forced to play by the actual one? That's the question hanging over this entire semifinal series. Because when you look closely at the numbers between Asia Wilson and Aaliyah Boston, the pattern stops resembling coincidence and starts looking like orchestration. Across 5 games, Wilson waltzed to the free throw line 26 times. 26. Meanwhile, Boston, who battles for every rebound, absorbs hits in the paint, and gets mauled on nearly every post-up, reached the line just 17 times. And here's the kicker. Nearly half of those came in a single outing, Game 4, when the Aces started intentionally fouling in the final minute just to drag out the clock. Take away that desperate sequence and the disparity between Wilson and Boston's free throws becomes indefensible. Boston spent nearly every possession guarding Wilson directly, contesting her drives, absorbing her elbows, staying vertical on every shot. Meanwhile, Wilson was often switched onto the Fever's smaller players to save energy, rarely contesting Boston Heaton. Yet somehow, Boston ended up with more fouls. How does that happen? And look at these moving screens. She totally destroys Lexie Hall. And guess what? They get a 3-point bucket off that play. They didn't call that an offense foul. Look at this one. Do you see how she sticks her leg out? They wonder why they get wide open layups and 3-pointers. Look at the room it makes when you set an illegal screen. That's why it's illegal. Another one. Look at this. She moves over, and it's just enough time for her teammate to get a 3-pointer off. Watch how she does this. She thrusts her hips at the end. Look it. Thrust her hips to get that extra space, and she gets an open layup. Like I said, for offensive fouls they didn't call, and they got 10 points. Rewatch the film, and it becomes crystal clear. Wilson was setting moving screens like it was part of her job description. Shuffling her feet, sticking her hips out, throwing shoulders into defenders to free Jackie Young or Chelsea Gray. Multiple analysts reviewing the tape counted 37 uncalled moving screens from Wilson throughout the series. 37. That's almost 8 per game, and not one of them blew the whistle. Meanwhile, Boston could barely set a clean pick without getting flagged. The double standard was so blatant, you could feel the frustration bleeding through the Fever's bench. It's like the game turned into a one-way street. Fouls stacked up on Boston, while Wilson glided through untouched. Boston kept her hands high, played straight-up defense, and still got called. Wilson dropped shoulders on entry passes, hooked arms on rebounds, and barreled through defenders with no consequence. You can call it tough officiating all you want, but at some point it starts looking like protection. The kind that preserves a narrative instead of the integrity of the game. Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul called every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. You know, and when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor, and that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively. And you know, we didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm. It's about timing. It's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it. And that's the uncomfortable question nobody at the WNBA office seems willing to ask. Is the league's self-declared superstar being shielded? Because based on this series, Wilson's so-called special whistle doesn't sound like fanfiction. It's supported by data. Look at it from top to bottom. 0 free throws for Boston in the opening 2 games. 17 total compared to Wilson's 26. 19 fouls on Boston, just 14 on Wilson. Despite her constant illegal screens. 37 instances documented on film where the MVP broke the rules and walked away untouched. Every single number points in the same direction. And it's never the Fever.